Geeta, in Pakistan, there is a saying in the Pakistani Army that constitution is a piece of paper. So it has been used as a piece of paper, rather a tissue paper, once it comes to the military dictators, may it be Ayub Khan, may it be Ziaullah, may it be Musharraf, or may it be Asim Munir now, all right? But by making this constitutional amendment, Asim Munir is only showing his fear, that he does fear the public reaction. He fears for his future. And it's a very well-known fact in the Pakistani army. So he is the deceiver. So he's going to go for the last option. He'll utilize the Indian stated position of a response for tit for tat. And he'll always say, such attacks, they never leave any evidence. There's layers within layers within layers in a terrorist attack. You cannot simply present, there is circumstantial evidence always there, but you cannot provide factual evidence. It's very difficult to provide factual evidence. He will make use of this vulnerability, Indian vulnerability, to take India on. And the only thing stopping him at this point is because he can go on and he can attack anywhere in India through the proxies. It's not a problem for him. All right, he still have got the resources to do it.
Trying to take control of Pakistan not through a coup but through a constitutional amendment. That's exactly what Field Marshal Asim Munir is trying to do, and he's succeeding in many ways than one. But what happens to Pakistan? What happens to Pakistan's constitution and the idea of having so-called democracy in that country? To discuss this and more, I'm being joined by a senior journalist from London, Adil Raja. He was an army official from the Pakistani Army, but now living in exile, so in many ways than one, in London. Major Adil Raja. Adil, thank you so much for joining us here on the network. Let's begin with what this really means. 27th Amendment, not a coup, but certainly a transformation when it comes to how Pakistan will be seen. Is this Pakistan headed towards military dictatorship for unending number of years?
Well, thank you, Geeta, for inviting me, first of all. Secondly, Geeta, this is nothing new. I mean, it's not out of the ordinary. Whatsoever is happening in Pakistan, whatsoever is the ground reality in Pakistan, it is only being formalized through this constitutional amendment. And the present army chief, who thankfully, thanks to India, has been promoted himself a field marshal after the last 4-day war. Because he's been able to present India as a boogeyman, and he claims to have won a war, and now he's the field marshal. So the power grab continues. It's a classic power grab, actually. So for the first, before this, he made the parliament, which has been formed after a rigged election, as per the Commonwealth report, which has been finally leaked by a whistleblower like me, and as per the suppressed European Union report, and as per the PILDAT report in Pakistan, there was a massive election rigging in February 2024 elections, because of which the present government is sitting in power, and the present government is voting for these constitutional amendments. So they simply cannot be legitimate. But there is no legitimacy in the hybrid rule in Pakistan anyway. Who talks about legitimacy in the country where might is right and might is with the Pakistani army? So that is why the Pakistan army want to rule the Pakistan Air Force as well and the Pakistan Navy as well. So this is a very important aspect of the 27th Amendment, that they are changing Article 243 of Pakistan, which gives unprecedented powers and control over the Pakistan Navy and Pakistan Air Force to the Pakistan Army chief, so that he can plan operations, he can attack anyone without consulting the services chiefs. So this is very dangerous for the entire region, not only for Pakistan.
Absolutely,
Having said
particularly for
that,
India, Adil. But I'd like to go
absolutely.
back to what you said earlier. You said that this is not out of ordinary, that this has happened time and again in Pakistan. My only question to you then is, and I ask you this is because I see a huge difference this time around because he's legitimized this entire usurpation of power. He's legitimized this control that most of the generals seek and get in Pakistan by this or through this constitutional amendment, Adil.
Geeta, in Pakistan, there is a saying in the Pakistani army that constitution is a piece of paper. So it has been used as a piece of paper, rather a tissue paper, once it comes to the military dictators, may it be Ayub Khan, may it be Ziaulak, may it be Musharraf, or may it be Asim Munir now. All right. So what now in this constitutional amendment and this all this media circus around it and the voices of dissent around it, and there's so much hue and cry about it, it only gives you the mentality of a scared dictator who lacks credibility, who lacks public support. Public support is with the popular leader of Pakistan, that is Imran Khan, and he has been jailed by this dictator. He is seeking the same changes in the same piece of paper which was being used, as a as a as a tissue paper, as a disposable piece of paper, they used to say. But now they want to make changes in the same paper because otherwise they're untouchables in the army. But now they know that whatsoever they've done in the country, especially in the past 3 years, if accountability is called, if they are held accountable for their actions, there is an article 6 in the same constitution, which awards capital punishments. There's a death penalty for whatsoever these military dictators have been doing. And under the same article, General Musharraf, was ordered to his dead body to be brought out from his grave to be hanged. Of course, it was never implemented. It was a Supreme Court judge's orders. It was never implemented because Supreme Court and they're just rubber stamps now. In Pakistan, the high courts and the Supreme Courts, they're completely rubber stamps. There's no doubt in that. But by making this constitutional amendment, Asim Munir is only showing his fear, that he does fear the public reaction. He fears for his future. Otherwise, he's all in all. But coming to the changes in Article 243, I mean, after 243, just 12 hours ago on my YouTube channel, Soldier Speaks Reloaded, I've done this vlog in which I've discussed certain credible reports and certain allegations and certain, on ground confirmed facts, which presents a scenario in which Asim Munir is lobbying China to provide technical assistance for an attack on the Indian Navy because Indian Navy is exposed in the south by towards the Indian Ocean, and then
I was,
there'll be
I
a
was,
Bay of
Adil, going
Bengal.
to ask you that because we do know that Asim Munir's primary agenda has been to look at how he can harm India. And he did that even when he was not field marshal, leading up to what you're calling the 4-day war. And then he claimed victory. There isn't one, but nonetheless, he claimed victory. So his entire agenda of growth is through a war, a conflict, or trouble with India. What do you see once you see the 27th Amendment implemented and him becoming the ultimate authority in Pakistan, where troops are going to be under him and he can do what he wants to as he wishes to? What is he going to do next when it comes to India?
Geeta, dictator lacks credibility, lacks public support, definitely. And as we've already discussed, that the public support is with Imran Khan and he's in the jail. So, what he's going to do, either he provides an excellent economy, General Musharraf's economic model, he gets 40 or $50 billion in coalition support fund from the US, which he's unable to get like General Musharraf. He's planning a regime change operation in Afghanistan. So far has been unable to get an open support. By support I mean funding from the Trump administration. So he has to present. He cannot, present economic success. At the end of the day, it is about roti kapra and makan. It is about, lives and livelihood of the common people. So if he is unable to provide them jobs and the financial security, and if the financial instability continues because of the political instability brought in by his actions, so he will present a boogeyman to the Pakistanis, which was done in the 4 Day War. He utilized, he instigated Pahalgam attack. India reacted in a very predictable manner. He made use of the reaction and he promoted himself the field marshal, declared victory overnight. I mean, again, the same pattern, and whatsoever the declaration of victory was simply impossible without the Chinese support, without the Chinese military hardwares, and without the Chinese technical support. It was simply impossible. Let's see it in the context of the global power rivalry. Now, India has he's renewed the defense pact for 10 years, and they're going for the joint production of defense equipment, fighter aircraft, even between Tata and Lockheed Martin. I'm hearing about the F-21 fighter or whatever with the US, all right, because India has got money to spend on the defense purchase. So that in that way, it is being propped up as a counterweight to China. Again, coming back to the global power rivalry, the great power rivalry. All right. So in that context, Pakistani military establishment has always leveraged its geopolitical location by inviting superpowers to fight amongst themselves on their territory, and poor Pakistani people pay the price for it, but they don't care. They live in the high mansions of the generals, and they're earning, revenue out of it. And the military incorporated has got only business. The only business running in Pakistan is the military's business. There is no other business left in Pakistan. So to
Adil,
conclude it,
who
you cannot provide life and livelihood. So you got to give them a boogeyman. You got to present. You got to scare them, and you can only scare them by opening a new war front.
Okay. Adil, according to you, who holds the nuclear button here?
Yeah, that's a very
Is it
interesting
the
question,
is it the
Geeta.
chair of the nuclear command, or is it Asim
Yeah,
Munir?
so very interesting. After the 27th Amendment today, after the changes in the Article 243 of the Constitution of Pakistan, now he is a one-man show. He's the super king right now, and the super king has now taken over the nuclear button for himself as well.
How so?
And well, the problem is that the nuclear command infrastructure was before this was under the chairman Joint Chief of Staff Committee. But by his promotion, by him becoming a field marshal and becoming the chief of defense staff, he is going to supersede the authority of the chairman of Joint Chief of Staff Committee. He's a four-star general. He's a five-star general. So he supersedes him. I mean, he can always order him, and he can always directly take over the command. But that is not the problem in Pakistan which is being discussed. The problem in Pakistan which is being discussed right now is that he does require support of the Western powers. And for that, he's willing to make a compromise on the nuclear button, because there have been allegations by the former CIA officers on open media that there is a US military general who overlooks the Pakistani nuclear program, and that is happening through CENTCOM. Pakistani military officers are stationed at US CENTCOM in Tampa, Florida, for quite a number of years now. In fact, for decades now. So there is, an oversight over the Pakistani nuclear program that is there, but it is not definite. It can be taken over any time. It can be overtaken any time, by the army chief. And this guy, he is known to be an extremist. He is known to, for him, the end justifies the means. All right. So he's going to do anything. And while in Tampa, Florida, after he had a lunch with President Trump in the White House, he was speaking to the Pakistani overseas community over there, the American Pakistanis. And he said that, well, we've got the bomb. Of course, he was talking about the nuclear bomb. If we'll go down, we'll take the world down with us, or the region down with us. So he has
Well,
made open public threats while in the
that's
USA.
that's also just boasting. He will still need the prime minister, but does prime minister have any power at all after
You make you
after
make me
the
you make
dilution
me
of
laugh,
Article
Geeta.
243?
You make me laugh, Geeta. You make me laugh because Imran Khan says that the prime minister is ardali. In Punjabi, we call it chaprasi. In English, we call it office runner of the army chief. That is what prime minister is. He's only a rubber stamp. He has got no political mandate. He has come into power as a result of a rigged election. He has come into power sitting on the back of the military. So he will take the dictation. He's got no choice in this matter. And otherwise, Pakistan's and traditionally, in the ever since the partition of Pakistan, ever since 1950, once Ayub Khan came over, Pakistan's defense and security policy has always been, and the foreign policy has always been with the military. And by once I say military, it means the army chief. He's been overshadowing, and that is where Imran Khan went wrong, or where that is where Imran Khan challenged the military, that he tried to forge an independent foreign policy, and he tried to take control of the security policy, and that is why the military did the regime change, alleged regime change operation against him. So the prime minister is only a rubber stamp. What are you talking about? The prime minister is
Okay.
only there to yes, say yes sir.
Adil, what's interesting is that in the past we did see a lot of people, civilians, come out and protest or criticize certain administrations, including military dictators. This time around, we're not seeing as much outrage as there should be, because their future now is at stake with a complete military takeover. They will hardly have any voice, and they will have no control over dissent.
Firstly, the dissent previously have been controlled by the military, and it has been supported by the military. Opposition parties have been supported by the military, uh, in one way or the other, or a faction of military has been, supporting the dissent. But presently, in the last 3 years, by the imposition of draconian laws like Pika laws, and by a severe crackdown on dissent. For example, take my example and take my fellow officers' example, like Colonel Sayyid Akbar Hussain, Captain Haider Mehdi. We are in exile, living in exile. We've been court-martialed in absentia, given 14 years rigorous imprisonment. Under the Pika, draconian Pika ordinance, people are being thrown in jail. The Chief Minister of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Suhail Afridi, is currently facing, 10 years in jail because he spoke up against the military's meddling in the constitution. And just because of that, the Federation of Pakistan has made a case under the Pika ordinance, under the cybercrime laws against him. There is a transnational repression going on. The Pakistani state, that they came after me and they went for a slap suit. And
That's
UK is the
true.
liable tourism capital of the world, a strategic lawsuit against public participation. But before that, they used the counter-terrorism protocols between the Pakistani military establishment and the British establishment, and they arrested me and they made me undergo a 9 months counter-terrorism inquiry under the counter-terrorism laws. All right. So there is a severe crackdown on dissent in Pakistan and abroad. People are literally being assassinated, and the example is Arshad Sharif, the Pakistan's topmost journalist, who was assassinated in Kenya through by allegedly by the ISI, and as per the army chief was involved. Arshad Sharif's mother, who has recently passed away, gave an application to the Supreme Court of Pakistan and named the Pakistan Army Chief Qamar Javed Bajwa, the DGISI Nadeem Anjum, then the Sector Commander Islamabad Brigadier Fahim Raza, then the present Army Chief Asim Munir's Chief Security Officer Colonel Noman. And she said, these are the people who assassinated my son in Kenya. And I am living in a constant threat on a police protected address. I have to watch each and every move of mine. So people are speaking up, Geeta. Please be fair. People are speaking up.
No, I'm
They
not
need
saying
to
they're
be
not.
supported.
I'm saying that is there more fear now in Pakistan to not be able to speak up than there was in the past with Asim Munir now in control? What was my question to you?
Definitely, there is fear because of the new laws which has been introduced in Pakistan, which and because of the Chinese firewalls and the Chinese, software which has been introduced and by the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, and because of the severe crackdown against anyone in Pakistan who dare to speak, and against their families. Like my mother was abducted, she's not allowed to leave the country. She's practically hostage. Same way, any journalist who speaks up, and there are journalists who are still speaking up, they are not allowed to leave the country, and their names are in the block list and blacklist. So there are officers in the military who try to speak up that they are blacklisted, declared persona non grata from the military establishments. So there is, because of these laws and because of this severe crackdown, because of the Pakistani military-led fascism in the country, because fascism is an extreme form of patriotism. So, because of all these factors, of course, there is an air of fear. People are scared to talk about it. But it doesn't mean that people are not talking about it. People are talking about it, but they are scared. But there is, I would say, more than fear, there is resentment. And that is why Asim Munir, the field marshal, self promoted field marshal, want changes in the constitution to secure himself from the wrath of the people. But once this wrath comes, once the mob mentality takes over, then, as the military says, constitution is a piece of paper. The piece of paper is not going to save him then, Geeta.
Well, again, Adil, we'll have to see how that really pans out, because at this point in time, Pakistan, I mean, even if you look at it at the recent past, Pakistan's economy, Pakistan's situation, Pakistan was in such dire straits that the Pakistani civilian dispensation did not know where to look, what to do. It does seem like Asim Munir turned those things around for Pakistan with the way he
Not for
engaged
Pakistan.
Donald
Geeta, not
Trump.
for Pakistan.
Yeah, for
Not for
himself,
Pakistan.
but
For
now
the
this
elite capture, for the elite and for the Pakistani military by offering the services as mercenaries.
yes, as mercenaries, and also the fact that he's selling off land to Trump and to America. What happens to Pakistan's future then? We've seen past military dictators do the same, and now we're looking at Asim Munir doing it more methodically, with a lot of control, and now he's legitimizing his moves.
Well, Geeta, if this man continues, because right now the thinking in Islamabad and even Washington is that let time do its trick, let him complete his tenure in 2 years' time, and before that we will try to sort him out. But he already knows this, and he wants to, wage new wars to provide him legitimacy. So for that, so that he has got a reason of an oversized military in the country, and for the so that he can tell the country to rally behind him. So definitely he's a negative influence for the peace of the region. There is no doubt whatsoever about it. As far as the American support is concerned, I don't. I think there is a sentiment in Washington D.C. as well, which think that he needs to be checked, and the only solution to keep a check on Asim Munir is a political check, and there is no one else in the military. The politicians right now, they've already they've given up, they've surrendered in front of his might, his the military might, and in front of Asim Munir. The only man who is not surrendered is in the jail, and that is Imran Khan. And if Imran Khan comes out through regional and international support, then he is someone who can balance out Asim Munir and challenge his authoritarian rule. Otherwise, we are looking at disastrous consequences in the entire region, because he will keep on waging new wars. May it be in
Adil,
Afghanistan, may it be against India.
Do you think Imran Khan will ever be a free man?
Well, Imran Khan has to come out. There is no other way. There is no way around it, because the Pakistani economy hasn't been able to take off for 3 years, irrespective of millions and millions of dollars in lobbying and millions of US dollars in PR and media campaigns. The Pakistani economy is not taking off because the people of Pakistan themselves do not believe in the Pakistani economy. Why they do not believe it? Because they have voted for Imran Khan and he's not been given power. So people are resentful and people are taking it out on the Pakistani economy, and they're taking their money away and they're not investing in Pakistan. So Imran, and this is very well known in the military. So and then if you want to give him an absolute power to Asim Munir, not even global powers. No, I'm not talking about India, but global powers. Neither Beijing nor Washington, and not even New Delhi. They cannot afford it. All right, you were banking on, you might have been banking on Nawaz Sharif, but Nawaz Sharif has given up. He has surrendered in front of this guy. He is the one who brought him to power, but now he has given up because he lacks legitimacy himself. So only way to check him is through Imran Khan, and yes, Imran Khan will come out for sure. Of course, Asim Munir would not like that, but at the end of the day, it was the one cipher and one signal which became the reason for regime change against Imran Khan by the military. So if the order comes from Washington D.C., Well, these guys, they're only on a job. They know that, well, all their assets and their children are in the UK or the USA. They have to listen to them. And if the order come, all right, enough is bloody enough now. Bring him out. So they will have to bring him out. But otherwise, if Imran Khan doesn't come out, then Pakistan is looking at a civil war scenario. And there is a civil war going on, insurgency going on, and it can very well, bloom into a civil war because the only, saving grace was, or only save, fail safe was that Afghanistan is interested in building themselves. But if they are put into a corner because Asim Munir plans a regime change at Kabul, so if they are put in a corner, if they're cornered, if they started fighting back, well, even the empires could not defeat them. And they've got a lot of influence in Pakistan as well. So if they'll fight back, if they'll join the war, so there are divided tribes between Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Afghanistan. Both sides of the borders, same tribes are living. If those tribes picks up arms against the state of Pakistan and they're being forced to, right? So if they
Hmm.
go ahead and if they do it, then the Pakistan is definitely facing at. I don't like to say it because I'm a Pakistani patriot, but Pakistan is facing balkanization in that case, all right. And Asim Munir is going to pay the price. But at the end of the day, Geeta, one order comes from Washington D.C. and he will obey. And I think there is a thinking right now that Asim Munir cannot be given a free rein because he's a madman with a nuclear button on his hand. And I've been talking about it. And well, now people are, in fact, thinking it in a more serious manner because of his own Asim Munir's own proclamations and boasting, may it be in Islamabad or may it be in the USA. So the man needs to be checked, and there has to be a check on him. And there's no other man but Imran Khan who can check this guy, who can, put restraint on him, who's got the will and who's got the guts to put check on him, to restrain him.
Right.
Otherwise, this is the mad king we are talking about.
Adil, also President Trump made a few claims some time ago, one of which is that Pakistan tested nuclear weapons. Um your sources, your information, and reports that you get out of Pakistan, has that really happened? We do know that hypersonic missile tests have taken place. Khwaja Asif did not respond to the questions directly posed to him. What's happening?
The Pakistani defense strategy is actually because of the Indians' cold start doctrine. Pakistan developed a strategy of a zero-sum game because Pakistani did not had the capability or capacity, let's say, to restrain India's cold start doctrine. If India opens up five fronts throughout the border, so Pakistani strike force or Pakistani strike corps lacked the capacity because of the budget constraint and because of the military hardware to counter Indian move. Because Indian cold start doctrine was designed was on Pakistani, Pakistani's nuclear deterrence and Pakistani's low nuclear limit of because the Pakistanis said that the Indians come in to Pakistan and so there will be a zero-sum game. If the Indians are able to cut through Pakistan, so the Pakistan will utilize its nuclear arsenal. So the strategic deterrence of Pakistan was very low. So the Indian cold start doctrine was designed to keep into mind the Pakistani strategic deterrence low levels. So they came out with cold start. Pakistani said, all right, fine, then we are going to develop tactical nuclear warheads because we cannot simply develop a conventional force to fight India at five different fronts. So we will develop conventional nuclear warheads that we'll take down Indian strike corps. And they did develop it reportedly, allegedly. All right. So that those were the tests he's talking about. And Pakistani defense doctrine, Pakistan simply cannot, in conventional force, match an Indian attack. So it is based on strategic deterrence, and that is where the nuclear weapon comes in. And
Okay.
Pakistan defense is heavily based, reliant on strategic deterrence, and of course through tactical nuclear warheads. So yeah, it does make a lot of sense. But having said that, please let me add something. President Trump knows the art of deal. He's been, arm twisting India and the Indian government. by talking about by talking about favorably in for the Field Marshal Asim Munir. And of course, he's been talking about the Rafales and he's been mocking Indians because he wanted to sell his own defense equipment. He wanted the 200, 300 billion US dollar deal, the Indian defense deal. And I think he's getting his way. So that is also the deal of art making. You also need to
That's
realize
true.
that at the end of the day, it is military industrial complex. And at the end of the day, it's all business for them. So they will need to sell their arms to India. So definitely that entire strategy should also be kept in mind. Pakistanis simply do not have the money to buy American iron arms. So they only want it for free. So they don't get it. So their Pakistani arms has been gradually shifting to the Chinese hardware, military hardware. That is the reason. So Americans, the entire strategy of praising the Pakistani general, the Pakistani field marshal, and the Pakistani government was based on the fact that they wanted to bring India to a defense deal in which they will buy, for example, not Russian fighter jets, not Su-57s, but F-21s, upgraded F-21s with a transfer of technology. Of course, at the end of the day, it is business for them. And now they are getting their business. So you can expect a change in policy in Washington, D.C. as well.
Okay, that's very interesting. Change in DC maybe, but not none in Rawalpindi. In fact, if anything, it'll only get tougher. As we are talking, there has been a bomb blast or an explosion in the Red Fort area of New Delhi, India. Adil, and I do know that Asim Munir, before he became field marshal, used Pahalgam terror attack as the premise for coming out into a direct conflict with India, and use that, leverage that. And now, just a day when we're talking about 27th Amendment that will make Asim Munir also powerful in Pakistan, we are looking at yet another attack. Should this be a terror attack? Should Pakistani involvement or hand be seen in this attack? What would your response be to what Asim Munir is doing, and what is he planning in India and for India?
Geeta, so far we don't have facts at hand about the Red Fort attack, and I'm really sorry to hear about it, and I sympathize with the victims of the attack. But ironically, just last evening, in fact, 12 hours ago, I did this vlog on my YouTube channel, Soldier Speaks Reloaded, about China and Pakistan's plan to attack Indian Navy. And everybody was asking, and I did mention it, that why would India involve in another war? Just the same way the 4 Day War was fought, you orchestrate an attack across the border. Indian response is predictable, tit for tat. They'll come back at you. They'll fire back at you because there is a zero tolerance policy stated publicly by India because it is a democracy. Very predictable response. So if they're going to respond this way, it will provide an excuse for the Pakistani generals to respond, and they do need to respond. So that is why they'll orchestrate an attack. I'm not saying that Red Fort attack is part and parcel of the same thing, same policy, but I am saying that there is a plan. Allegedly, there is a plan that we need to go after the Indian Navy because the Indian Navy is becoming part of the Quad and it is becoming a counterweight to the Chinese PLA Navy. And as part of the Quad, it is a serious threat for the China-Pakistan alliance. So if Chinese provide an electromagnetic spectrum, there is a plan, all right, alleged plan, that if Chinese provide an electromagnetic spectrum blockade, if radar, jamming facilities like they had provided before, in case of the attacks against the Indian Air Force, if they're able to provide the satellite coverage, so the Pakistani aging fleet of the Mirages, which is 50-year-old, they can turn into kamikaze flight allegedly. Allegedly, that's the plan. So yeah, it does make a lot of sense. In fact, it is. I mean, and then there is a negative public outburst again today in Pakistan against the 27th Amendment. So now, after the Red Fort blast, the entire media focus has shifted to the terrorist attack in New Delhi. So obviously there is it could be a, I'm not saying it is, all right, let it be very clear, but it is a very useful diversion for Asim Munir at this point. And
Very,
then
very
yes,
interesting.
yeah, and at the same time, Just 12 hours ago, I have presented this sort of a prophetic vlog that I said that, well, this is the plan. They're going to instigate, orchestrate an attack on like it was in Pahalgam. India would react, and they will use that reaction to take down the Indian Navy. But as per my sources, in all fairness, based in Washington D.C., though, the sources in Washington D.C., not Beijing, they say that in fact the Beijing, no, there are no comments from Beijing. So obviously, I would also say that it's Beijing's point of view as well, that they are not on board this plan. But the plan to take down Indian Navy, which is vulnerable in the south in the Indian Ocean, then in Bay of Bengal and in the Arabian Sea, and there are Chinese presence reported, alleged Chinese presence in there, and I've presented evidence in my vlog. So yeah, it is plausible. You cannot simply deny it. You cannot simply rub it off because the plan has been conveyed to me by certain senior sources in the Pakistani military. So, and it is expected of a man with a mindset of Asim Munir that he can definitely go and do such a thing. Yeah, he's already done it before to
Okay.
promote himself. And now he requires legitimacy. So he is going to wage more wars. That is not me saying, that is my colleagues serving in the military saying that he is going to wage new wars because he requires the public support and there is no legitimacy. So he wants to rally the public behind him and he wants to present a boogeyman, and there's no other way but to make a new war because he's trying to do that in Afghanistan, but it's not working out for them because the Afghanis are very smart like that. They are publicly stating that we've got no issues with the people of Pakistan, unlike Indian public perception. The Afghanis is saying we've
Right.
got no issue with the people of Pakistan. Our issue is with the colonels and generals of Pakistan only. So
Right.
if
My
this is
fine.
the policy, yeah,
Right,
this
Azil,
is
my
the
final question to you. India post Pahalgam had said an act of terror is an act of war. Is that going to work as a deterrent or as a challenge, or one that Asim Munir is going to use to his advantage? Because if an act of terror will be considered an act of war, then it will be easier for them to draw India in to conflicts and wars that he could leverage.
Geeta, Asim Munir's name ever since he was a captain in the army. He has been given a name by the army itself, by his own colleagues, and that is the Deceiver. And it has been published as well in the Staff College Journal. And it's a very well known fact in the Pakistani Army. So he is the deceiver. So he's going to go for the last option. He'll utilize the Indian stated position of a response for tit for tat. And he'll always say such attacks, they never leave any evidence. There's layers within layers within layers in a terrorist attack. You cannot simply present, there is circumstantial evidence always there, but you cannot provide factual evidence. It's very difficult to provide factual evidence. So he will make use of this vulnerability, Indian vulnerability, to take India on. And the only thing stopping him at this point is because he can go on and he can attack anywhere in India through the proxies. It's not a problem for him. All right. He still have got the resources to do it. And there is no way for India to prove it conclusively. They've learned a lesson from previous incidents in that regard. The ISI Special Operation Division has got proxies, and it's a well-known fact. All right, it's not news. Okay, but then the only thing, if you go for an all-out war, he cannot go for a war against India without the Chinese support. So whether Beijing is on board or not, Beijing will always maintain plausible deniability. They'll
That's
provide
interesting.
technical support to them. They're going to do the dirty work. So, but are they going to agree to it or not? Because I mean, the evidence could be very easily found of Beijing's support by the US. So whether they would be able to do that or not, and what will be the result of this great power rivalry, that is yet to be seen. But this man needs to be checked. He needs to be stopped. He needs to be constrained. Otherwise, the entire region, not only India but Pakistan and India and rest of the region, the subcontinent, the most populous region of the world's future is at stake because he's got the nuclear button, and he's not very stable man, and he's a deceiver at the end of the day. Yeah.
Absolutely. On that count, Adil Raja, thank you so much for joining us here on the network to explain exactly what's happening in Pakistan, as also the ramifications of that, not just regionally, but particularly when it comes to India. Thank you so much.